What's going on, everyone? You're listening to Bull Central here. Hope you're all doing well. So guys, you may know that NBA.com releases an annual survey from the GMs across the league, and they essentially survey and vote on their predictions for things like who will win the MVP, who will win the championship, ranking of the top teams in each conference, things of that nature. They also have very unique questions, things like if you were starting a franchise today and could sign any player, who would it be? Which player is most likely to have a breakout season? Which one player acquisition will make the biggest impact on their team? Among other, there's a host of questions, and I won't go into all of them. But now there were some results that were noteworthy as it pertains to the Bulls, and I'll call those out in this video as well, and I'll just provide my takes to some of the other results to the questions too. I won't be covering all of them, of course, because it's actually a pretty substantial survey with a lot of questions, so I'll highlight the ones where the Bulls or any of their players were mentioned and key questions that I found interesting. So I'll start with where the Bulls were represented. The first one was in regards to a question on who would be most likely to have a breakout season. And I was a little surprised by this one, as I thought we would have seen more representation from Bulls players, given that there are a few players on this roster that I think could have a breakout season. But the only player that actually got any votes was Lauri Markkanen. And he actually didn't even finish in the top 5 of voting in terms of the overall percentage. He was just listed in the other receiving votes category. The top 5 players voted to have a breakout season in order were Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Michael Porter Jr., De'Aaron Fox, Devin Booker, and Zion Williamson. I can't say I really disagree on any of these choices. I would say if I had to choose my top player most likely to have a breakout season, it would have to be Zion Williamson, mainly just because he missed so much time last year due to injury, and when he did play, he was looking very, very solid. Not phenomenal by any means, but that potential, that hype of Zion is clearly there. And I suspect with him being healthy for a whole season, he really is going to have a breakout year. I mean, this was the guy that people have said is the best prospect coming into the NBA since LeBron. Granted, people also said that about Andrew Wiggins, so there's that. The only ones I disagree with among these top 5 are De'Aaron Fox and Devin Booker, and it's not because I expect to see these players have a subpar season by any means. No, I actually think they're going to do very well. It's just the question is, who will have a breakout season? I mean, in a way, both of these guys have already kind of broken out in their own right in the league, and I consider this question more so for players who have or who are expected to make a drastic leap from the prior season. De'Aaron Fox and Devin Booker, I mean, they've already signed max contracts. They're likely going to be all-stars this year. I don't expect them to break out any further than that, really. Now, as far as Lauri getting votes for this category, I do agree. I think, Lauri is in a position to have a breakout season for all of the reasons I've mentioned in my prior videos, so I won't go into detail on that. I was a little surprised, though, to not see Kobe White, or even Zach LaVine for that matter, getting some votes. Not saying that they should be top 5, but maybe some votes. I mean, I do expect these guys to have better seasons than they did last year, even for Zach LaVine, and he had a great season. So hopefully they surprise GMs by having stellar seasons themselves. Another category where the Bulls were represented was in regards to the question of which head coach is the best manager and motivator of people. Billy Donovan received some votes on this one. However, he did not make it into the top 5, which I thought was a little surprising, since I feel Donovan is pretty well known for his ability to get the most out of his players. The top 5 coaches in this category in order were Eric Spoelstra, Greg Popovich, Steve Kerr, Doc Rivers, and Michael Malone. Now, where Billy Donovan actually did finish in the top 5 was in regards to a question that was, which new or relocated coach will make the biggest impact on their new team? Donovan actually tied for 5th, along with Tom Thibodeau. In that category. Steve Nash, Doc Rivers, Tyronn Lue, and Stan Van Gundy all fell ahead of Donovan, respectively, in that order. I think the main one I'm surprised by on this one is Ty Lue. I honestly don't think Lue is going to have as much of an impact on the Clippers as people think that he will, or at least not more of an impact than where they were last season under Doc Rivers. Steve Nash finishing first, I mean, that's just a safe prediction because he's starting his career with 2 superstars on his team. I do think Billy Donovan should have finished top 3 in this voting, just from the difference of impact that he will probably, hopefully anyway, will have on the Bulls from their previous season. Another area where a Bulls player got some votes, and this one is interesting. I love some of the questions from these surveys, but it was which active player will make the best head coach someday? And Garrett Temple actually finished 3rd in voting for this one, which you love to see because, you know, Arturis was definitely touting this signing of Garrett Temple as the Bulls, you know, pure veteran presence to help in mentoring the young guys. So it makes sense. And Chris Paul, Rajon Rondo, and Udonis Haslem, who I still can't believe is actually playing in the league, those are the guys that actually finished in front of Garrett Temple. One player that received some other votes in this category was Kyrie Irving, which I thought was a little funny because I don't think Kyrie would not make the best coach at all, given his own issues with creating drama and his locker room presence, but we'll save that for another day. And then the other area where Bulls received some recognition was for the question, which rookie will be the best player in 5 years, which is an interesting one. And for that, Patrick Williams actually finished 4th behind James Wiseman, LaMelo Ball, and Anthony Edwards. And I actually think because of the potential Williams has shown thus far in the preseason, I would have expected him to finish a little bit higher than that. And, you know, maybe it's just the safe bet of going with the top 3 picks, really top 4 picks. Now that you add Patrick Williams to that, number 4. The other thing that I didn't agree with at all was that Patrick Williams didn't get any votes for who would win Rookie of the Year. I honestly expect Patrick Williams to finish top 5 in voting for the Rookie of the Year at the end of the season. I think he'll actually get more playing time than what was initially thought. I do think he'll start a good portion of the games this season, depending on the health of Otto Porter, and with, you know, more minutes means more exposure, more opportunities to showcase what he can do in front of the league and put up bigger numbers than, say, some of the other rookies who may have not seen as much playing time on the other teams while they continue to develop. LaMelo Ball actually finished 1st for winning Rookie of the Year, which I can see why he was, because it's kind of a safe bet given he's going to get a lot of playing time on a bad team. But I'm not as high on LaMelo as most are. If you've been watching my videos, I talk about how I think LaMelo Ball, you know, he'll be a solid player in the NBA, but I just didn't think he was worth the top 3 pick. So as you can see, the Bulls weren't really that well represented among these categories, which is disappointing, but also to be expected. I think a lot of GMs are, you know, likely seeing the Bulls as a bit of an uncertain team, you know, going into the season, given how they performed last year. And now with a new coach and a new front office, they're essentially keeping the same roster more or less, and how much of that will actually in fact impact the team and how they perform. So I would have liked for them to be more represented, but I also get it at the same time. Now I'll go quickly through some of these other questions so the video doesn't drag on too much. Some of the notable ones, such as who will win the MVP this year. Giannis finished 1st with 32% of the votes, followed by Luka Doncic, and then AD and LeBron, who actually tied for 3rd. No surprises there really, as I think a lot of people are expecting to see Luka take an even bigger leap than he already has, and if the Mavs see a considerable amount of wins in their record, he'll be primed to win the MVP, because the MVP award obviously is important on team performance, and the Dallas Mavericks have continued to improve year after year, so if they make a significant jump, I fully expect to see Luka Doncic win the MVP. One question that was an interesting one was that if you were starting a franchise today and could sign any player, who would it be? Of course, Giannis, Luka, and Anthony Davis all finished in the top 3, but LeBron followed them, which, I mean, sure, he's still the best player in the league, in my opinion anyway, but he's going to be 36 in just a couple weeks. You would still take LeBron to start a franchise around? I was a little surprised by that. Again, this is starting a franchise, not really the type of player you consider building around long term given his age, but I guess if you wanted to attract other marquee players, then LeBron does that. He's the guy to do that. So maybe that's why. I just found it a bit odd that he got some votes for that. Now, there was also a question on who is the best player for each position, and most seem to make sense to me. They were pretty straightforward, but the one that I was surprised by was point guard. Steph Curry actually finished first as the best point guard in the league. I definitely think Steph is in the top 5, but at this stage in his career, coming off injuries, and to be honest, he didn't look that amazing without Clay next to him, even in his limited playing time without him last year. I don't know how you put Steph ahead of Luka as the best point guard. I just don't. I can't consider Luka Doncic. I think he's one of the top 5 players in the league. He is without a doubt a better point guard than Steph Curry. Just my opinion. Or even Damian Lillard for that matter. I mean, he definitely has a case for being up there on that list as far as the best point guards in the league. And then I think the only other call out I have that was surprising to me anyway, which was rookie that was the biggest steal of the draft. Now, this is of course based on where they were selected, so I guess I'm not surprised to see that Pat Williams did not make this list, given the fact that he was selected number 4 overall. But Obi Toppin finished 3rd in voting for this as a steal of the draft, which I mean, I'm just not high on Obi Toppin at all. I was actually worried the Bulls were going to draft him at 4. Yes, he is a good scorer. He's very athletic. He's flashy, but his defense is just atrocious. And he's already 22. So all that dominance that we saw in college is a bit easy to come by when you're playing mainly against a bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-olds. Anybody who is in kind of that 21, 22-year-old range, they're likely not going to be making it to the NBA. The guys that are standout players in college, they go to the NBA pretty early. So I guess I can see, why they put him here since he was 8 overall, which, he was expected to go top 5, but I really don't see Toppin turning into a star by any means in this league, like a lot of Knicks fans are thinking that he's going to be. And anyone knows, even those who do have talent or potential, once they put on a Knicks uniform, they somehow lose all of their skills and potential once, because a player that goes to New York, that's where they go to have their careers die. Tyrese Halliburton finished 1st on this, which I can get behind given the fact that he was selected 12th, and there was talks of him initially going into the top 5. I don't think he's going to be a star in this league, but he will likely be a solid player, and the Kings getting him at 12, yes, that was a steal for them. But again, another franchise where players' careers go to die, so we'll see how that pick actually turns out. Anyway, I've rambled on enough in this video. There was a lot of categories that I didn't cover, so go check out the results online if you haven't already. Let me know what you guys think, on my takes in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, and I will catch you guys in the next one.